calls this moment in his book Disloyal, where he's talking to the president about an IRS return. Quote, "Can you believe how effing stupid the IRS is?" Trump asked. "Who would give me a refund of $10 million? They are so stupid." Joining me on the phone is the president's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen. He's also the author of the book Disloyal, a memoir. Michael, go into that moment where the president was talking about that $10 million refund you say he got from the IRS.
Well, I was sitting in his office. I discussed it in the book. I believe it's page 94. I'm sitting in there, and he flicks a check at me. He says, "Man, could you believe how effing stupid the IRS is, a $10 million refund?" And I said, "Well, that's pretty good." So he's like, "Yeah." He goes, just how stupid are they?" And it's like, then give it back. If you don't want it, then obviously you can give it back to you. Just send the check back. He goes, "Yeah, I don't think so. Just make sure it goes to Alan Weisselberg for deposit."
Michael, we were just talking to Adam Davidson about the golf courses that Donald Trump bought with some of the money, it seems, that he made from The Apprentice. What are the golf courses, or what do they mean to him?
Well, it's really a land bank is what I don't agree with your previous guest in terms of the Scotland properties. They're not money laundering locations. He bought the property very, very cheap. Donald Trump is always looking for a way to be on an LPGA or a PGA type of a tour, and he thought he'd be able to do that through Scotland. It was why the Doral was such an important property to him as well. I mean, you have to remember, Donald Trump is our commander-in-chief. The man is absolutely compromised to the core, and he spent his entire business career inflating his net worth in order to feed his ego. That's what the land is. I own 1,000 acres in Florida. I own 2,000 acres in Scotland. I own property in Ireland. That's what it's all about. It's not a place where they're laundering money. Now, then again, you have to take a look at other properties like Mar-a-Lago, right, where they're charging $350,000, $400,000 to individuals to be members. And, of course, these members want to be there because they want to be close to the president, who seems to decide to go there and use it as his Camp David on any chance that he can, and using it for various different RNC functions, which brings income into those facilities, not to mention, the room rate seems to go up whenever that they're having these type of events.
Michael, and speaking about Mar-a-Lago, how does the president value the people who spend money there? Does he feel like they're spending money and they're getting their goods and services at Mar-a-Lago? Or in your experience, does he feel like he needs to do something for them beyond that because they've just spent X amount of dollars at Mar-a-Lago or at his D.C. hotel or any one of his other properties?
Well, look, what he thinks, I can't give you the answer. It's very hard to get into Donald Trump's head. Does he think it's important that the people get a chance to see him there? Of course. And he enjoys it. It's really more, again, about his ego. It's something I talk about not just on my podcast, Mea Culpa, but it's also throughout the entire book. What my book really is it's a diagram in how to understand the psyche, the Trump derangement syndrome. It's all about his ego. He goes to Mar-a-Lago not in order, to get the food, and the food happens to be good. It's not about showing himself to the people to give them something. It's what the people are giving to him. What he feels is a lot of energy, a lot of love, a lot of applause. The man walks into the room. The people start standing up, and they're yelling, "Mr. President." They're clapping. They're a bunch of sycophants. They are exactly the way that I was prior to my, let's just say, transformation, right, or my redemption. It's more him taking from them. Remember, and I say this again throughout the book and in Mea Culpa, Donald Trump is like First Avenue in Manhattan. He's one way. He's taking from them. He's not giving to them.
Michael, in your congressional testimony, you talked about the president inflating and deflating the value of his assets depending on whether he's reporting to the IRS or reporting that income to get a loan from a bank. Is it your belief that what we're seeing, according to the Times from the documents that they've reviewed, is an accurate portrayal of the president's assets, or is it potentially something that he has deflated in order to lower his tax bills?
Well, I think that that's possibly part of the Attorney General of New York, as well as Cy Vance, the DA here in New York, their allegations, their complaints that have been filed against the Trump Organization and Mr. Trump. However, I think as it relates to the New York Times reporting, and of course, what does the president say? It's fake. It's not real. It is. It's not. He doesn't even know. If you look at his body language, and I talk a lot about that in the book as well, his body language tells a lot about him. He's right now, he's lost, he's confused, he's dazed. He's not sure what to answer. He doesn't know how to answer it because it's hard to answer and to refute something which is basically documentary evidence. They have the returns. I think what's really bothering him the most, though, is that Trump has over $420 million in outstanding loans that are coming due. Now, in the event that there is a potential tax liability for the time period that they're talking about, I mean, it could be hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. If you add those together, I mean, he's very realistically facing a potential bankruptcy. Where people are concerned about is in terms of your previous guest about foreign influence. I mean, the more likely scenario that I see is that he'll find some corrupt foreign entity to help him out of the situation. Not too much dissimilar than 666 Fifth Avenue.
Michael, in your experience, how involved is the president in preparing these tax returns? Can he just say, I don't know what my accountants did?
Well, the answer to that is no. You put your signature onto it, and I'm speaking now from experience. You put your signature onto it, they're going to hold you responsible for it. Is he involved in it? He most certainly is. He works very closely for a long period of time with the CFO, Alan Weisselberg, and the accounting firm of Weiser Mazer, and they spend an enormous amount of time preparing these taxes. Now, one of the things that you'll also notice is that he always files for extensions. So it's not just that he has X period of months in order to get everything under control. He actually takes a very long time, closer to a year. So the answer is he is fully aware of everything. And I say this again in the podcast, I say it again in the book. There is nothing that goes on at the Trump Organization, including what's going on right now, that Donald Trump is not intimately aware of and involved in. And the same holds true in the White House when he turns around and he makes statements, as he did to my guest right now on the podcast, Omarosa. Oh, I didn't know that you were fired. How did it happen? What happened? Who did it? And he knows everything. Nothing goes on without Donald Trump's knowledge and approval.
Michael Cohen, the president's former attorney and fixer. Michael Cohen, thank you very much for joining us. And still ahead, Dr. Anthony Fauci says the U.S. is not in a good place as nearly half of the country reports an increase of COVID-19 cases. And people across the country are already casting their ballots for the next president, while this president and his Republican Party are trying to rush through a Supreme Court confirmation. What it means for vulnerable Republican incumbents. And we are a day away from the first 2020 presidential debate. What Joe Biden is preparing for, Donald Trump